Hello, everyone. I'm just starting like literally 30 seconds early, a tick early. I want to give people time to come in, so don't panic if you're just arriving. This is for BookNetFest, which is an amazing event that I've done 2 years in a row, and I'm really pleased that I've been able to do this virtually because I wasn't going to be able to make it to the in-person event this year, though I mean, we're sad for the reasons that we have to be virtual. But it's cool to bring this content to the channel. Marina's asked me to do a workshop on YouTube channels, specifically BookTube and AuthorTube, starting a channel, growing a channel, which sprung out of just chilling at BookNetFest and having conversations about the thing that we do, YouTube, and me being, sassy and talking about like clickbait and all that kind of stuff. I do have an outline and things I definitely want to go over and talk about, but this is interactive, so definitely ask questions. And y'all have already started asking questions, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you asked that because I wouldn't have thought about that. And in fact, as people are coming in, I thought I would just start with a couple of them before I formally kind of launch into the chat to give everyone a chance to come in. So to start with this, it's a great meta question. How much having a channel has affected my author career? This is for the writers out there. Does it come up in querying? So I started my channel after I got a book deal, so it didn't come up in querying for me personally, but I advise anyone who does have a channel when you are querying to mention it. If you have a substantive subscriber base, you can put the number in the query, but otherwise you don't need to. You can just say that you spend your time filming videos, posting videos on your AuthorTube channel where you discuss blah, blah, blah. Same thing with BookTube, whether your channel's AuthorTube or BookTube. It's something that you do that has to do with writing and books, so definitely mention it. Has it helped me in my career? Yes, I feel that it has, not directly in terms of publishing itself. Like, no one's patted me on the back and said, we just gave you this thing because you are on YouTube. But my first publisher really loved it, and they factored it into some of their marketing and publicity plans. We collaborated a bit on things that I could do on my channel that would help them. And personally, I feel it's helped me in my career in the sense it's helped me feel a lot more calm and zen about a lot of the things that are very much out of your control in publishing. And I feel that way about social media generally, and everyone always asks, do you have to be on social media for your platform? I think, yes, you do somewhere. Doesn't have to be YouTube, but this is our space. Hi, fam. We love YouTube. I do encourage people to do YouTube because it's a space that you can control. It's where you can be yourself, you can engage, and you can have messaging if you want to. So even when my publisher wasn't doing marketing for me, I've always had this channel. So I feel it's helped me in my career in terms of engaging with readers and fellow writers, and I highly recommend it. This is also a great question before we launch in. What kind of fears I have before starting my channel, and how did I deal with them? I think a lot of us grapple with this. I think YouTube is the hardest platform to convince people to do for many reasons in mine. I've never liked watching myself on video. I even went through a substantial phase. I think a lot of us do this, where I didn't even like looking at photographs of myself. A lot of that's just, it's general self-esteem. We all have all sorts of issues, but just not feeling comfortable with myself and how I look and how people might perceive me. And part of starting this channel was challenging myself to be more comfortable on video. I wanted to try this platform specifically to give advice because I love giving advice, but the problem was like, well, you have to be on video, so suck it up, kid. And I just had to get over it. It was trial and error. I don't watch my older videos because I'm so embarrassed by them. The only way out is through. I had to make those videos and post those videos and know that several dozens of you watch them. You're always going to be stiff and slightly awkward when you start, but you can't get to the point where you're comfortable and where you start to grow without starting. And it's actually nice because it relieves pressure to know, well, when I first start, no one's really going to watch. So it's actually okay. I'm glad only 10 people saw XYZ video and so on. Okay, so I'm definitely going to come back to questions. I like questions, definitely do questions. But I'm going to also jump into my outline, because you know that I am well, not a planner of books, but I'm a planner of videos. So I do have things that I want to talk about. But I'm also going to try to cover both ends, which is the hard part. Some of you have not started a channel and you're here for kind of beginner information. And some of you may already have a channel and you want to know all of my secrets about the algorithm and growing and all that kind of stuff. And I do want to preface this by saying a lot of YouTube is timing and luck. Some of it is just you happen to start your channel when YouTube is like, ooh, we like these channels, they can grow, let's boost these types of videos. And that's always why you shouldn't stress too much about sub numbers, or you shouldn't compare yourself to someone who started YouTube 5 years ago, for example, because with some exceptions, you're usually just not going to be able to do what they were able to do because it's just a different time. So I got lucky in a lot of ways, is what I'm meaning to say. I was a relatively early adopter on authortube. And I was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first traditionally published authors to start an authortube, which also kind of gave me an edge, I suppose, because so many of the things I was talking about were new in the space. And there was actually a question related to starting your channel, so we can, this one. How did you go about researching with equipment to start, lights, camera, microphone, etc.? I asked people I knew who were on authortube. I did start, I was encouraged to start by a friend of mine, Lily Mead, who started the term authortube actually. And also, pro tip, if you go to the description boxes of a lot of big YouTubers, it's mostly big YouTubers who do this. Not that I'm big, but I did add it at a certain point because I realized it helped me, I should help others. If you go in the description box, they will actually say what equipment they use, which is very helpful. Now, on a lot of those channels, they're going to use incredibly expensive cameras, and you're going to laugh at them and be like, I'm not spending $3,000 on a camera or a lens. So in that case, you search YouTube for equipment, tips, videos. I watched a bunch of those too. That is how I picked out my tripod. That's how I picked out or made decisions about lighting. And I actually started filming on my phone. If you have a 1080p HD capable phone, you can use your phone. You just need like a special tripod mount to film with. Or you can buy an HD webcam. I am actually using one for this live stream. I bought it for when I started live streaming. There are different options, but whenever possible, I don't advise you start on anything that isn't at least 1080p. It used to be you could put anything on YouTube, but because it's such a more kind of crowded space and technology has advanced, people really do expect you to be pretty on point with at least your camera quality, but your phone does it, and lighting as well. I highly recommend investing in a good lighting kit. Mine was $80 for 2 lights, but I only used one, so I could have spent $40. Who knew? You don't have to do a ring light, which is the fancy one that everyone gets. So, just generally, I want to say I'm going to try to be as specific as possible whenever possible about BookTube and authortube, just because this is a crowded space. A lot of people have opinions on YouTube itself. There's a ton of meta content on YouTube, but that's actually my tip. You can search for any of these things. And yesterday I actually searched, I was looking for something, and even I came across a video about secrets most YouTubers don't tell you about their channel, about growing. So I watched their video, and even I learned something there. You can just watch a ton of those. There are a bunch of them, like 7 things you have to know about the algorithm in 2020. You can watch those videos. They're going to repeat some of what I'm going to say. The best practices generally haven't changed. But since I'm going to talk about authortube and booktube, my first is actually to severely adjust your expectations for what you can potentially do with your channel. Go easy on yourself. Don't come in with realistic expectations. You shouldn't come on here and start a channel and expect to have 100,000 subscribers in a couple of months. It's so rare for any channel to hit 100K, and it's sadly the lowest benchmark that YouTube's going to give you a plaque for. And generally, there hasn't been an authortube channel that's gone above 250K. I think the biggest one is at 200K now. And there isn't a booktube channel. Booktube channels have kind of topped out at like 500K-ish, maybe a little higher. But there hasn't been a BookTube channel that's hit 1 million. And we're a niche loving community. So adjust your expectations. Know that this might be a long haul. And that leads to my second tip, which is you should only do this if you actually want to. And if you enjoy it, because what I'm going to go over, kind of everything that it takes to make it, so to speak, to at least have a shot at growth, it's a lot of work. And so it requires patience, it requires a lot of work. And if you don't actually enjoy doing the content, you shouldn't do the content. And generally, another big tip I have, and this won't be, I feel like this won't be a problem for most of you watching this video, to be fair, is you should actually be engaged in the community. You should watch videos in the space already. You should know who the top creators are. It should be easy for you to navigate to those channels and look at their sub counts, look at their average view counts to give you a realistic picture of what you might expect. So you have to look at how long they've been on YouTube, as I mentioned. And so meaning you can't really fairly say, well, I, such and such person who started 6 years ago, I can hit those numbers. You should look at channels that started in the last couple of years to see what kind of ceiling growth they're hitting. And you should watch those channels. You should know the content that is on them. You should know as a viewer what you like versus what you're not that into. Which is no judgment on the stuff that you're not into, but it's going to guide you in terms of what you want to do, what you feel you should be doing. Because it's all about kind of finding your niche, kind of. It's balance between doing what the community expects. Like, you should be making content that works in your community space, but at the same time, you should bring your own angle to it. And sometimes that angle is literally just your sparkling personality. If you're funny, be funny. If you're like kind of stylish and hipster cool, just like literally be yourself, and we'll all like, you know, want to copy your aesthetic. There's all sorts of different reasons that people watch channels, and so often it's a combination of personality, presentation, and content, like the literal engagement level of the content. But people watch people that they want to like hang out with and talk to. So meaning like it's that fine line of like, what do they expect from the community and how can I give it my own fresh spin? And I'm going to talk more about ideas for how to innovate. When I talk about clickbait, we're definitely going to talk a lot about clickbait, which is kind of an asterisk. It's a trick title. I don't actually think you should be doing clickbait, but there are formulas. And I'm just going to scan your questions before I barrel on, because I definitely want to make sure I'm covering it. This is actually a really interesting question. I personally rarely struggle with this. This is actually a really good starting tip or a growth tip if you're looking to kind of expand. I keep Word documents, Google Docs technically, many of them in my Google Drive. I have a YouTube folder. Anytime I think of the scantest idea, I put it in the folder. And if I'm so inspired, I start outlining it immediately. I bullet point just the things that come to mind that I could cover under that topic. This includes if I'm watching someone else's video, and then I'll include in other spaces. Like I watch a ton of BookTube, and like I've had ideas that I haven't necessarily executed because I don't think I can pull it off. I guess someone else should pull off those ideas. But I just jot them down, and I rarely have run out of things to do. And what's nice about having these running files, I organize them by quarter, by season, is whenever I go to film, I make sure I actually want to talk about the thing I want to talk about. Enthusiasm is very important. If you're pushing hard to make something because you think you should make it, like, ooh, these types of videos do really, really well, I should make a video like that. But if it's not organic to you, or if you don't enjoy making that video, it's going to come across when you edit it and post it. So I basically film with moods, but like I have 8 million ideas at any given time. And so you can build up to that is what I'm saying. Like, no pressure, just watch videos. Anytime you have an idea, jot it down. And generally, this is advice that was given me by a wonderful authortuber when I was starting out. She was like, full permission, and this is something that like pro people do, go to other channels, popular channels in the space, go to their videos tab and sort by most popular. This is my cat. Hi. See what has done well on their channel. What are the things that people are watching? You're going to start to see trends. Like, for example, I'm obviously more familiar with authortube than booktube. It became very clear to me very quickly, also based on the types of engagement I got on my own videos. Pay attention, which videos get more views, which videos get more comments, but also like what you actually enjoy making. Within reason, I noticed that most audiences here really want a lot of the 101 how-tos because they want to hear how different people approach different topics. There's always going to be new potential people searching for how-to topics. And so it's meaning don't copy anyone's video beat for beat. That's rude. We don't like it. We do notice. But some topics are so universal that you're not copying anyone, meaning anyone can do a TBR. And those are less popular than they used to be. So that's kind of an old school example. But like, check what the mood of the community is in the moment and then think about the content you can make. And that said, I do want to talk about, this is very authortube specific. There are some booktube parallels. Definitely kind of know your strengths and think about what the norms in the community space at the moment. I will say there is now, I was doing those things in the early days of authortube, knowing there was still plenty of space for advice videos. And there still is if you're bringing fresh, interesting angles to that advice. But I just caution people to go hard at an advice tilt because it's a little bit out of fashion in authortube right now. Authortube has really been great about innovating over the last year or so, and there's tons of other types of content that you can consider. Booktube's similar. TBRs, hauls, and wrap-ups aren't the bread and butter of booktube anymore. They really evolved. This is just so true. So I kind of mentioned the caveat at the top, and I'm going to continue to go through it. I'm going to talk about the evil beloved YouTube algorithm a lot. It is a weird animal, and sometimes it really is just luck that you do something, and sometimes the algorithm just sucks. And it is a lot. It is a long haul. It is a lot of time, but we're glad people do it. I honestly feel guilty even like giving out tons of advice because such a huge part of my growth really was luck and timing. So I also post 3 times a week, and we're going to talk about posting frequency. That's the exhausting part. Ways to trick the algorithm into liking you is what we're going to call this workshop. Oh, this is a good question that actually goes together with one that was at the very top. Let's see if it's still there. Oh, I think it is. Because sometimes this thing refreshes so fast. So this question goes very, very well with this question. So cross-platform sharing and sharing your content with your family and friends. So this is a growth question once you've started your channel. I have found personally that cross-platform promotion doesn't really do much. The reason for this is I have found anecdotally, with exceptions, a lot of people are loath to leave the platform they're on. It's going to be challenging to get the average Twitter user to click on your video to go to YouTube to watch a video if they're in Twitter mode, if that makes sense. I found Instagram even fewer conversions because they don't let you hot link unless you're like huge. But that said, if you have people who love your YouTube channel who also follow you on Instagram, that doesn't mean that throwing something up in a story isn't going to, drive them over to your channel, but they're probably already subscribed to your channel. Your best bet is to work hard, and it is hard to grow on YouTube itself. And so this is gaming the algorithm, or trying to. It is community engagement. Like you can essentially, watch videos, not just the mega creators, but that still can be a good place to kind of meet other commenters and think of it that way. Like by watching, commenting on videos, maybe going to live streams and participating in the chat, you're meeting people essentially. And we do tend to check out the channels of people who we have positive interactions with. I definitely did in the early days. I made sure I was watching and commenting. I might do a little less now, but I still do it because I genuinely like to watch content in the community. Though sometimes I don't comment because I'm worried I'm going to freak someone out. I'm watching their video, so maybe I should anyway. But there are also, I don't think BookTube has this, but YouTube does have, we have an authortube Facebook group. I will find a link and I'll put it in the description box at the end of this, or in a comment, in a pinned comment. Anyone can join. I'm technically one of the mods. And we don't want a ton of self-promo on there. However, when you've made an interesting video, especially one that warrants some discussion, post it on the Facebook group, and then we have a weekly thread for regular promotion. It's a absolutely fantastic place to introduce yourself. Another way is to do newbie tags. BookTube has one and AuthorTube has one. A lot of us actively and regularly search those tags to look for new channels to watch. I know Kevin the writer does. I do. Although I find most of my new watches through the Facebook group personally, or actually YouTube has been doing a much better job in the last week or so of recommending new channels to me. So some of it is like, do your job, YouTube. And we are going to talk about the stupid algorithm. It's very frustrating, and you're allowed to be frustrated, and I don't want to scare anyone who's new and diving in, but I also don't want to invalidate the feelings. If anyone has been doing this for a while, I was definitely frustrated with it in the beginning as well. And quite unfairly, I will tell you that the biggest boost early on for me was when some wonderful big booktubers actually mentioned me in one of their videos. That helped me more than anything, and it was completely out of my control. Though someone did ask, I kind of don't know where it is in the chat, but someone did ask about collabs. I feel like, at least from what I've noticed, collabs have kind of gone out of favor, certainly in AuthorTube, but you don't see as many of them. But there are great ways to engage with the community, to grow your channel. But I personally find them exhausting. Unless it's a live stream. That's kind of the new collab, is to say, hey, do you want to stream sometime, or joining someone's stream in AuthorTube? And I definitely recommend that. I've forced myself into those waters. I was a little intimidated at first. Now I'm far more comfortable. Like, I was basically like, can I join your live streams? And I've done it a couple of times. I do recommend doing that kind of collab and reach out, because you're inadvertently going to reach a whole new audience on people's channels. Though I have a YouTube secret to talk about with streams that won't be very popular, but we're going to talk about it because you deserve all of the hot tea about the YouTube algorithm and how to trick it into liking you. But just know that some people don't have time for collabs, or technically don't know how to do a collab. In the very beginning, I was so overwhelmed with how to do a collab that you may have noticed I don't think I've ever, I think I've done one in the history of my channel, like a tag collab, because I just don't know how to do them and they overwhelm me. And if there's anyone who ever asked me to do one and I didn't, I'm sorry, it's me, not you. But they do help. And that's the thing. The one that I did way back in the day, I was with Kim Chance, and that definitely helped me with growth in my channel. So in the very beginning, that can be very, very helpful. And to that end, I think it's always nice for bigger channels to try to help smaller channels as well. If you watch a channel and you like it, shout it out. I try to do that as much as possible. And yet, like, it's still, like, there's so many good channels that just don't grow as fast as I think they should. I religiously watch them, and I'm like, what is wrong with people that they don't kind of watch these? Hold on, I want to catch up on your channel. I'm very tired all the time. That's my time management, and I don't have children, which also helps a lot, but I'm also very, very tired. And I feel like I let people down a lot. Like, you guys see the best of me, I guess, but there are plenty of people who I know that I let down on a regular basis, unintentionally. Things that I run out of time for, etc. It's hard, though. In fact, that was another question at the very top about time management. So I've mostly been in my outline. I'm just going to go out of order and address your questions, because why not? We might as well talk about how much work it is and my recommendations for, we're going to talk about post frequency, and then I'm going to talk about content, engagement, etc. So how do you make time for everything? It's hard. You definitely have to make YouTube a priority and find ways to fit it into your schedule so that you can hit posting benchmarks. So the pro tip for YouTube, my general rule of thumb, you might notice, not in the last 2 weeks, ironically, because I'm really busy at work right now, but I've been doing this for 3.5 years, so I cut myself some slack. I post 2 to 3 times a week, usually 3, as religiously as possible, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This is because purely the algorithm loves it. The algorithm is looking for channels who consistently post consistent content. We are going to talk about content branding and why it can hurt you to cover too many different things on your channel that people click on, not just the people they recommend it to if they're recommending your video, but your sub base. It's actually your very early sub base and the level of engagement on your videos that starts to tell YouTube a story, should they be boosting your content. The tough thing is, until you hit 1,000 subscribers, you can't be monetized. 1,000 subscribers and a lot of watch time. I forget what it is now, but it's something like 400,000 hours, which sounds overwhelming, but we're going to talk about content length and engagement, which is going to help you. And until you reach that point, it's harder to get them to boost you, but once you reach that point and they make money off of your videos, they are basically incentivized to boost your video more and boost the videos they think will make them the most money because they think it's going to have the highest engagement levels. Posting frequency, especially early on, is honestly going to help you with that. You don't have to be as bonkers as me and go hard at 3 times a week, but I made that decision early on after watching other channels that gave advice, and I planned ahead of time. So I have those, I mentioned those Google Docs. At any given time, I have so many topics, and sometimes it's just delightful. I'll go into an old Word doc, a Google Doc, and find an outline I completely forgot about and be like, ooh, it's like fresh, fun content. And that's why sometimes you'll get a video. It's like, I outlined this a year ago and I forgot to do it or didn't feel like doing it because I don't push myself too hard. But plan ahead, batch film. Batch film is your best friend. You need to find a day or time in your life when you can film 2 to 3 videos at a time. So I do it on weekends. Now that I'm home all the time, I can film on weekdays more. I can film during my lunch hour, which has revolutionized things, except for the last couple weeks. But I would basically, Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I get up, I have my coffee, I put my makeup on, and then from like 11:30, depending on the sun, because I'm in California, in the winter I have to film earlier, and in the summer I can start later. But I film for 2 hours usually. Back-to-back film, do multiple videos, long and short, because I'll get really exhausted if I do an intense topic. My intense topics, I can film 40 minutes to an hour of footage that I then have to cut down. Though if you watch my channel, you know I'm very bad at being concise and cutting anything down. Length and engagement. Let's talk about length and engagement. So common wisdom on YouTube for a very, very long time that I occasionally will see a new channel and I'm like, aha, you're using old information. You need to get with the program, which is, it used to be the rule of thumb was that attention spans on YouTube are very, very short because the youth, TM, don't want to watch anything. And some people do have a very short attention span and they will click off your video. But the viewers that YouTube adores, the ones like the best, are the ones that can make the most money off. And the ones that can make the most money off are the YouTube users who watch videos for a very long time. They don't click off videos. They don't like 4-minute videos. They like 20-minute videos. They like 40-minute videos. So that's all of us who watch video essays that are 40 minutes long and we just sit and watch the entire thing because we're obsessed with the creator. It's the get ready with me's. Again, I have watched 50-minute get ready with me chit chats or Q&As just because I like a person. And that is gold to YouTube because they can put ads on those videos. Now that's why you're seeing more mid-roll and it makes them money. Now at first, here's the hard part. At first, you cannot put up 40 and 50-minute videos, like, because no one knows who you are and they don't owe you their time. It's also because, remember, you're going to be very awkward when you start your channel, so you're probably not going to be very engaging. You have to get comfortable with YouTube and basically earn people's time. But to start, don't do 4-minute videos exclusively. It's always good to have some. I've peppered shorter content into my channel. I started that in my 2nd year. Though, fun fact, my 4 to 6 minute writing hacks never do as well as my longer videos. The irony. I have them because some people really like them, but long form content always performs better for me. And the sweet spot is going to be 8 to 12 minutes ish to start, or 12 to 16 minutes in that sweet spot. The 12 to 16, you really got to hold their attention. But 8 to 12 is a very good benchmark to aim for. And then as you start gaining viewers, you can go a little bit longer. And usually, that's another thing. Well, I guess we'll talk about viral hits in a little while. But usually, the first video YouTube is really going to pick up on for you isn't going to be a short video. They're going to look for that perfect, slightly longer video that they can boost that has a clickbait title, but isn't clickbait, which we're also going to talk a bit more about. And like, that's the video they're going to be like, I'm going to boost this. It brings me to topics. This is something that I've learned over trial and error over a couple of years, but I've heard other YouTubers talk about it, and I think it's definitely worth sharing. It's definitely something that's kind of a secret, but not really. YouTube is basically like high school, and YouTube is going to stick you in a clique, and you're going to be assigned to a lunch table, and they're going to not know what to do with you if you want to eat lunch at another table, which means once YouTube decides what kind of channel you are, and their computers use keywords and all sorts of stuff, and also, so fun fact, Google knows everything about you. I do advertising through my day job. They know everything about you. They have something called affinity targeting. They know if you like movies. They know if you like nail polish. It's bonkers. But so meaning YouTube knows what kind of person people are. And so they'll decide what your channel is. And it's usually the first big video that they decide to boost. And once it happens, even if you start making other great content, and you're trying to have a variety of content in your channel, YouTube is almost universally going to preference one type of content. What that means is I actually love reading wrap-ups. I love BookTube content, which surprised me. My publisher said, could you make some BookTube videos in case readers come to your channel and they don't care about writing? And I was like, how dare? And then I started making them, and I was like, I love talking about the books I read. It's some of my favorite content to make. And it does abysmally poorly on my channel relative to all other content, because YouTube doesn't like my reading wrap-ups. They don't boost them in the algorithm, and a tiny percentage of my viewership watches them. And every time I post a reading wrap-up, it hurts my stats. And I know it, because YouTube is a learning platform. Every single time you post a video, it learns something about you, and it adjusts accordingly. So unfortunately, when you have a video that kind of doesn't do well, it can actually hurt you. Some major channels are so serious about this that they private or unlist videos, or actually, I guess unlisting doesn't help. I think they have to private them. There are tricks you can do to basically get rid of that's ruining your stats. I don't do that. I just don't care enough. But I'm aware that even though I'm like 70-30, I'm at least 30% technically a booktuber, because I read a lot of books, and I post 50-minute wrap-ups that I really enjoy making, but I'm not a booktube channel because YouTube doesn't think I'm a booktube channel. I'm an authortube channel, and that is how I live. In the early days of my channel, I did unboxings for, I received a monthly nail polish and makeup box. I did unboxings for those. I tried to do college admissions content, and I don't care, I'm trying again. I'm posting one this week because I like helping the teens, and it's something that I love to do. But YouTube hated those videos. The audience didn't watch them, and I stopped making them. So you kind of have to get a feel for what is actually working on your channel. This is why so many people start second channels. It's a kind of a workaround, because it's just not true that you can make videos on anything you like in a weird mix and grow steadily, because YouTube decides what you are and likes to boost that. But also just think about yourself as a viewer. You watch a viral video, you watch a video that pops up on your dash, and you love it. It's a really fun, sassy video. So a good example, I've been watching How to Cook That by Anne Reardon, because I found her debunking videos for all of those 5-minute crafts and stuff. And imagine if I had gone to her channel and all I'd seen was boring cooking demonstrations, which actually used to be what her channel was. Not that they're boring, I just don't bake or cook. But no, she's smart. She realized, oh, I get millions of views on debunking videos and more explanatory videos, the ones that are kind of fun and funny, videos where I use my husband. She figured out what viewers, what would they actually wanted to see when they subbed. And she started shifting her content in that direction. If I'd gone to her videos tab, this is what I do when I decide to subscribe to someone. I look at the general feel of their stuff and I make sure enough of their content fits the first video I saw that I liked. And if it does, I subscribe. And if it doesn't, I don't subscribe. And the worst thing is when you subscribe to a channel because you think they're going to give you certain content and then they don't. Every time YouTube serves your video in the subscription box to someone and your subscribers don't click, that sends information to YouTube that your content isn't engaging enough, and that can start to hurt you. This I guess is what we're here for. I know this is a lot. It's depressing. It's frustrating for us too. And I know that it's a champagne problem when you have a lot of subscribers, but even larger channels will hit plateaus where they struggle to grow, where they put time and passion into videos that they love. I've done this so often, and no one, relatively speaking, watches them. YouTube doesn't give it love. You start to question, did I post at the wrong time in the morning? Was I not engaging with comments enough? Was my title wrong? And I have experimented with changing titles before to try to fix that. YouTube is very frustrating. And so I talked about the algorithm killer of like when I post BookTube videos, my stats get mad. The same thing, this is the secret about live streams. YouTube doesn't like live streams. Some channels manage to do decently being primarily live stream channels, but by and large, live streams are stat killers. And that's just a thing that is known among YouTubers who do streams. I think the reason for this is that YouTube can't monetize them the way that they can monetize regular videos, because very few people will watch back a live stream when it's not live because they can't participate in the chat. And some live streams, it depends on the live stream. Hopefully this is one people will watch later because hopefully I've stayed on topic. But a lot of live streams are a little too chatty and slow, and people click off them very fast. They're not going to watch back a 3-hour live stream, which means YouTube can't monetize those videos the way that they want to monetize them. YouTube hates live streams. They just do. So I personally don't recommend you build an entire channel around them. Only going to work if you're a gamer, usually. And even then, most YouTubers stream on Twitch and then put edited versions of their streams onto YouTube because people will watch those. But like pure live streams is just YouTube. It's probably why they got rid of the functionality to directly live stream, and we were all annoyed about it, and we all had to get StreamYard. But it's like a little secret. Every time I do a live stream on my channel, I'm going to take a hit. So what I do is I plan something decently clickbaity, something that I know the algorithm likes, and I plan it for within a week of that live stream to basically inject my channel stats with a little bit of adrenaline. That's a pro tip that I use, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But that's why you'll notice I'm going to do a tropes I hate video after a live stream. Not literally. That's not my plan after this one. And in fact, after this one, I am going to post a college admissions video, and if you're applying to college, please watch it. But I generally know that the channel is going to be like, what are you doing? But sometimes you just have to post content that you love. That is the answer. Because we're people, darn it. We're not just brands on YouTube. Let's see. Okay, if you have any questions, otherwise, maybe it's time to talk about clickbait. Hold on, let me look at my outline. And that's the thing about live streams. You see what I just did? I lost the plot and was doing something. No one likes to watch dead air. That's why a lot of the replay value isn't there. I talked about video length and engagement. Oh, I can throw out just like essentially what you want with your length and your engagement. Don't freak out about fall off. You're always going to have fall off because there's going to be a vast majority of the audience who's just not going to watch a 20+ minute video. I get comments all the time that I talk too much. It's fine. Your golden bread and butter, though, is the 20 to 30% of people that you want to watch to the end. That's your gold. That's what helps you grow your channel, because those are the users that tell YouTube that you post engaging long form content and they should boost your videos. And the longer people watch your videos, the more that tells the algorithm to potentially boost that video. It's all a game. I talked about posting frequency. Okay, let's talk about clickbait. Here's how I feel about clickbait. Yes, but no. So actual clickbait is not, it's out of fashion. As we all know, it used to be a thing on YouTube and we hate it. I hate it, especially, I feel like lifestyle people on YouTube do this all the time. I hate it when it's like the shocked thumbnail, there's like a mansion in the background, or like they're crying, and it's this very incendiary like title, like, I can't believe this happened. And then you click in and it's a normal freaking update and they tricked you. No one likes that. And people click off them fast. And for the most part, I feel like most people have learned their lesson about those videos, though. We all have someone we sub to who does like the sad clickbaits. There's this one YouTuber I do subscribe to, and I probably shouldn't anymore, and I won't call them out, but they do like sad face clickbait all the time. Anyway, I'm not mad. And I find that the thing in BookTube and authortube, I call it, and most communities, BeautyTube does this too, I like to call it clickbait that is not clickbait. This is always the formula that I have followed, and I know some people are salty about it. I work in marketing. You too can learn my tricks. They do work. And that is, you are going to use pull-out keywords, sexy keywords, sometimes not literally for us because we can't use the word sex. This is an advertiser trick. The words that have the most kind of emotional impact, like the ones that really get people, hate, love, sex. Those are like the three. And obviously, we're not going to use the word sex, but that's why you see I hate this or I love this kind of things in video titles. We all use it. But negativity always gets people to click faster than positivity, whether we like it or not. I do have things about that. But meaning, look at the videos you click on. Look at the videos that are suggested on your dashboard. Look at the thumbnails. We're going to talk a little bit more about thumbnails in a minute. But look at the titles. So there is actually literally a clickbait title formula that I learned from a YouTube video, because I too watch meta content on YouTube. And I almost never use this actual formula because I don't think it works as well for our space. But once I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's obviously the formula. That's really brilliant. And that is, you can use this for listicles technically. Number plus adjective plus keyword plus promise. I learned it from Ann Reardon, how to cook that. That's where I learned that. And so that would be like 7 everyday craft hacks that'll change your life. That is a clickbait title. That's the formula. But what I'm more inclined to use on authortube or with books. So, I mean, if you followed my channel, you know some of the tactics I've used. No regrets. So my most popular video, and this was it wasn't my first viral video. I put that in quotes because I'm obviously not that big, but for me, it's huge. But it was my first, but it's my biggest, is harsh writing advice. And then in parentheses, I put mostly for newer writers. And I have a very incendiary thumbnail, so I guess we can talk about thumbnails. Thumbnails are very important generally for your channel. They should be clean, personable, I feel. Thumbnails with people on them often, but not always, do better than just text thumbnails. And your thumbnails can start to all look the same if you just use a text formula. But generally, with text, it should be big, bold, readable. And it should complement, not necessarily match your title. YouTube, I actually do think YouTube is smart enough to read the text on thumbnails. The algorithm is definitely smart enough to read expression on thumbnails, because computers are going to murder us all. But the algorithm literally, it looks at the text in your title, it looks in the text in your description, and it looks at your tags. Tags used to be more important than they are now, because the computer's gotten smart enough that it doesn't even need the tags. It's actually more important to have the meat of what you're covering and what people might be searching for in your description box. But your thumbnail should complement your the text in your thumbnail should complement the title. Now, for harsh writing advice, I did a copy. That's kind of like old school me. Gosh, I've learned, but no regrets. My other one, big clickbait, but it's actually literally the content. Actually, in both cases, it matches the content of the video and the tone of the video, which is very, very important. I hate it when I click into something that's like, I hate this, or this is harsh. And then I click in and it's like a dear sweet lamb gushing about things they love. Look, I love some love, but if I click in for salt, you better deliver salt. And if your personality isn't salt, please don't make those videos because they're popular. Like, I can do sassy. It's the only reason I started to do sassy. But I usually hedge and apologize a little too much to actually be that kind of channel. And it's so funny because so many people have come to me from the harsh writing advice video, which at the top I was like, this is kind of an affected video. I'm putting on a personality, and they'll be like, you're so mean. I'm like, if you watch any other video, I promise I'm not as mean as you think I am, but I also believe in every single thing I said in my harsh video. Gotta stick to your convictions. So my other one is bad fanfic writing habits, all caps, you need to break. And then my thumbnail is bad fanfic habits holding you back. I did a slight variation there. And so that's kind of an example. Oh, here's a good listicle clickbait thing. My very first viral video, quotes, is 7 common mistakes new writers make. It sucks. It's my 3rd most watched video, and it's so old, and I think I'm so awkward. So awkward, I remade the topic better recently, but that one lives in infamy. But my point is, they're clickbait. You clicked on them because you're like, is there going to be tea in this video? Or maybe also I'm going to learn something. Am I going to agree with this person? That's actually a really good place to start, especially with writing opinions, bookish opinions. You got to keep them watching by delivering what you promised them in the thumbnail and in the title, and then of course actually having something interesting to say. We're coming back to length and engagement. I personally don't like videos where it's just I'm running through a list in 5 minutes. You can't say enough about a list in 5 minutes. In my personal opinion, again, we know I'm long-winded. I like substance. And that's the thing. Once you hook them in, deliver the substance. That's how you get away with those longer videos. How long are these videos? I feel like, my harsh writing advice video is 10 minutes. Go me. That's because I was about a year into my channel. My fanfic writing one is 13 or 12 and a half minutes. Oh, my surprise hit from 2019. So sometimes the videos that blow up are going to surprise you sometimes because the algorithm is weird. It doesn't make sense. So the one that picked up last year, and I was genuinely surprised, was when a book is DOA, dead genres in publishing, is a 44-minute video, but it did very well. I was genuinely surprised. I talk in circles in that video. It's very navel-gazing, but a lot of people watched it. I think it's because I put the word dead genres in the title. People must have been searching for something similar. So this is my next tip. Think about what people are searching for, especially when you're starting, but also anytime you're feeling stagnant and you want to grow, really put your finger on the pulse of what people might be looking for right now. And a pro tip I literally got yesterday from watching a video that I had never thought to do the way that she did it. She said, open an incognito browser in Chrome so that they don't know who you are. Because when YouTube knows who you are, they're going to offer you suggestions based on stalking you across the internet. So when you use an incognito browser, you're going to see what Joe Blow sees, who I guess has no personality or internet history. But type in how to, and it's going to give you what's trending in that very moment. And apparently in this person's channel, she has over 1 million subscribers. In the early days of her channel, she would make any how-to video people were searching for. I don't think that works anymore, but I've always, for writing, I type in the first few words that I'm planning on using for my title, for example, and I'll see what pops up. It'll guide it. Sometimes it's helped me course correct on what to name my video. For example, I try not to copy what other people have named their videos, for example, but sometimes having a similar title is actually going to help you with the algorithm. They're more likely to suggest your video to people who watch that video. So you do want to think about how you're using keywords, but search for how to write and see what comes up. And if you are inclined to speak on any of those things, you could do a video on it. But again, do what you love, do what you know. If you've noticed, I've never made a how-to video on how to write fantasy because I am not the person who can tell you that. And it's just a personal preference or personal opinion. At least it's a philosophy that I have found has helped guided me in a way that makes me feel comfortable, and I hope contributes to a feeling of genuineness when I talk about writing stuff. I try only to talk about things that I think I know something about. Sometimes I'm wrong, by the way. Sometimes I mess up. Or I learn something and I change my mind later. Or 2, that actually genuinely interests me. And 3, I try not to do topics that you can Google, if that makes sense. I am honestly, I don't think a very good teacher. I can at least don't ask me to teach you grammar is basically what I'm saying. And so personally, I advise every once in a while, sure, there's a topic you can look up on Google. What's going to make your content be very you, what I hope will make it enjoyable to film, but also what's going to help you stand out isn't regurgitating the same ideas about something, and certainly not essentially. I would never want to plagiarize someone else's content, if that makes sense. When I'm making a video on a topic, I try not to watch any other videos on that topic, especially not recent videos because I don't want to crib from them, but also you don't want to deliver something that they could Google and find on a blog post. So you always want to give your own spin to something, and if you don't have enough to say, don't make a video on it. That is my personal opinion. And thus also, I know this means that y'all have wanted me to make videos on things that I just can't make, and I'm always hopeful someone will join AuthorTube who can actually speak to some of the things people want to know, and that's the good thing. There's a lot of people out there. Oh, imagine, it's so novel, isn't it? Imagine changing your mind when presented with new information, and I have. I mean, we won't talk about how I'm less of a pantser than I used to be. That's a great example of an early thing. I wasn't seeing a lot of content on AuthorTube that was about pantsing, and so I did make a lot of early videos on that. I saw a lot of misconceptions on Reddit mostly. They pissed me off, so I made videos about them. I've actually gotten really good video ideas as a response to Reddit because I knew that if I typed up a comment on Reddit, either no one would read it, no one would upvote it, and it would just disappear into the ether. So why waste my time? Make a video on it instead. That's what I love about YouTube. Let's see, clickbait. Oh, this is my advice for how to innovate your content. And I am actually not good at this, but I see people do this, and I think it's an amazing tip. So if you're good at this, I hope this helps you. Well, it actually, this kind of feeds into know what you're comfortable doing. So I only basically have the technical proficiency level or interest level in sitting in front of a camera and talking to it about topics. That's about what I am okay to do. Certainly from an editing level, I edit all my videos myself. It takes a lot of time, and I'm not great at it. I'm okay, but I'm not great. I could hire an external editor, but I like having control over my own channel pipeline. But the point is, if you are more skilled than I am, if you're more adventurous than I am, if you like innovative formats, skits, play acting, cool editing effects, there's all sorts of cool content you can make that I'm never going to make. I know that a sit-down discussion is my bread and butter. I don't really stray from that. So my point is, something you can do that I've seen other people do that I think is very cool. I hope you watch a lot of YouTube. I think we all watch a lot of YouTube. And the number one mistake I have noticed in some people who have come into YouTube and started channels and maybe found it a little bit frustrating is they don't actually watch a lot of YouTube. I think it helps if you live here. I think it helps if you don't just watch BookTube or AuthorTube content. There are all so many communities on YouTube, as we all know, so many different kinds of content. And my tip is to steal cool ideas from other areas of YouTube. If you're watching BeautyTube and they do something and you think of a cool, creative way to adjust that for AuthorTube or BookTube, do it. Like, the coolest ways I've seen people do this. Beauty gurus have done Shop My Stash. Well, people have done Shop My Shelves. I think so. If they have it, someone should steal that from me because it's not going to be me. I'm such a mood reader and my TBR is a mess. But someone should do that if they haven't. But I feel like they have. That's one example. Another example, Kate Kavanaugh, brilliant example. I tried doing X, like X. That's a format that was in other communities, and she innovated it for authortube, and it was a huge hit and so fun to watch. So that's just 2 examples, but think about things you see in other spaces. Story times, listicles, challenges, etc. And if you can do something cool with them for our spaces, that's how our communities innovate and change and grow. And they will innovate and change and grow. And I actually think it's really interesting. There have been book clubs in the past for BookTube, but I feel like they didn't really take off until recently. And now there's a ton of different book clubs, and they're for different kinds of like books and readers, and it's really awesome. But I feel like book clubs weren't where it was at a couple years ago. So also sometimes a thing that didn't work previously can work now. And those are just some ideas for how to kind of innovate your content. Here's a question. So I think it's going to be different for every person, and it's also going to depend on how aggressively you want to tackle your brand and growth. I do think it's possible to cover multiple things. Like, you can pry my BookTube content from my cold dead hands, but it kind of intersects with writing. And I'm going to do my college content because I want to. And I've also occasionally done general content of like what I'm watching or like makeup. I think it's about balance. I do think it's wise to pick one that you feel is your bread and butter, and just like think about your splits. Like, so maybe you do 40% of that content, and then oh no, math. No, I'm bad at math. Don't do that. 50, 25, and 25. I can math. Or what would that have been? 40, 30, and 30? I can't math. I'm terrible. Yes. See? It's why I'm a writer. And just kind of think about your posting schedule. This is all about planning ahead. I film ahead, I edit ahead, and I think about how my posting schedule, usually not too far out, but at least 2 weeks out. I think about, because I post 3 times a week, I think about what I'm going to post, and I stagger my content. So for example, my 101 writing basics type content, especially craft, which has broader appeal, if I do a more niche thing that's more 201 or 301 for people who have already finished a book, who are querying, etc., if I post a querying content thing, I'm going to post something a little more general, close to it, because I don't want to do too much of that more niche content and have the general audience feel like I'm not serving them anymore. But vice versa, I don't want my people who are here for the like kind of trad pub deep dives and some of the content that feels a little more niche, because it's a smaller audience of people who are querying or who already have an agent, etc. I don't want them to feel like I never make videos for them either. And then also my BookTube fam who will watch a 15-minute video because I'm so long-winded. Same thing. So it's just kind of balance, but strike the balance, but also know that in terms of growth, especially aggressive growth, if YouTube latches onto one thing, it's smart to make that content if you want to grow. I actually enjoy listicles, but the reason I'm always going to come back to them is that YouTube freaking loves them. YouTube's decided that I make slightly salty listicles and hot takes, and I have to post them semi-frequently, or the algorithm's like, what are you even doing with your life? Luckily, I enjoy making them, but not all the time. I do have to take breaks. It's hard to be like excited about things all the time. This is funny. Can someone marry ASMR with authortube? Someone should. It's a good idea. What? Like a gentle clicking sound on the keyboard and someone saying, it's time to write now. I actually think one reason some channels do well is that people do kind of like the speaking voice and rhythm and like acoustics, so to speak, of a channel. I know I like just watching and listening to Raw Beauty Christie also because I want to be your friend, but I definitely find it pretty relaxing to watch. Let's see. I talked about thumbnails. Oh, one little thing for thumbnails, just a tip, especially if you're starting out, but if you are feeling stagnant and you want to grow, refresh your thumbnails. That can actually make not a huge difference, but it can make a difference that you'll notice. So I I totally changed my thumbnails a few months ago, very quietly, and I went back and I changed some of the ones that already existed so the new ones would blend with the old ones, and I updated all of my bigger videos because I realized there were moments when even I couldn't read what was in my thumbnail, and that's a bad sign. It's my thumbnail. So I switched to a less stylized font that was much more clear. And then my other tip on thumbs is you can literally look for color stories and color trends in thumbs that are doing well on YouTube. Red always does very well. Yellow always does very well. You're not going to see me using yellow. It's just not a color I like, but I've started using more red because like there are certain colors people like. I've also seen a lot of like color gradients on thumbs for like video essays. People are really rocking the bisexual colors lately, I noticed. I think it's just because blue, purple, and pink are really pretty. But I like those thumbs. So think about kind of the visually pleasing thumbnails you see that you want to click on, that people are clicking on popular channels. Think about ways that you can revise your thumbnails. I use Photoshop, but you can use Canva, you can use PicMonkey. It could also be a thing. So it's funny, the video I watched yesterday was sponsored by Fiverr. And so the YouTuber was talking about how you can use Fiverr for your channel, which is where you can hire freelancers. But it's actually not a bad idea. You could also find someone to make thumbnails for you or to make you a new template. Just an idea. Because I know thumbnails are overwhelming if you're not like super design savvy. But there's psychology to fonts, colors, etc. So let's see. So let's talk about viral videos, and then we'll close by just being mad about the algorithm, and you can ask me final questions. Just like final thoughts I want to leave you with is to really grow, remembering that you have aligned your expectations realistically with your space. And I actually, in my outline, I did have numbers, and then I didn't give them to you. So BookTube, I'd say the current ceiling for a big channel feels like it's about 70 to 200K. I feel like the biggest we've seen a channel that broke out in the last couple of years go to is 200K, but meaning a BookTube channel reaching 70K nowadays is huge. Whereas I feel like the previous benchmark was 250K plus, because the biggest channels are up there. But I feel like that isn't the case anymore. And I'd say like a realistic sweet spot for a BookTube channel of growth over a year, year and a half, 2 years is a couple thousand subscribers, maybe 10 to 20 on the higher end. But hitting 1,000 subscribers is an accomplishment. And then in authortube, it's even harder to hit 1,000 subscribers, but it's a really like, that's a good place to be. I'd say a realistic benchmark for authortube on the high end is 30 to 50K. And that's on the high end. I've somehow grown past 80K. I don't know how, but I was shocked when I hit 30. Like, I did not expect that. And I'd say more realistically, if you can get between 2,000 and 10,000 subscribers on YouTube in a couple of years, you are in a very, very good position. And I know it's depressing because that can't touch the numbers in other communities. But so you're setting realistic expectations. But that said, viral content. So viral content is what's going to push you. Viral content is usually the difference between hitting 10K and not hitting 10K and blowing past 10K. And in terms of blowing past 10K, you need to have more than one video that the algorithm can seize on that fits your brand, that people click on, that they engage with. And so I thought I would just offer some of my experience with it. And viral is a relative term when you're in a niche community as well. I don't consider myself a viral whatever, but there's certain videos that pick up. My first one was a few months into my channel. I want to say 3 or 4 months into my channel, and it was my listicle, which was 7 common newbie writing mistakes I'm now embarrassed about, but it fit a formula. It had a number in the title, clickbaity. I delivered on the clickbait, I think, and viral for the time. I was lucky if I got 100 views on my videos at the time. So that, like, I got a couple thousand views in a short period of time, like a month or so, and it just continued to pick up and pick up. And now it's a video that sits over 100K total, and it's a 3.5-year-old video that apparently YouTube still promotes. So embarrassed. But I mentioned it before. It took me from June of 2017 to February of 2018 to hit 1,000 subscribers. And that's pretty steady growth, especially for the time. And then from there, I mentioned it was being mentioned by those booktubers. That's what actually really started growing subscribers. And I think that's why YouTube started paying attention to me. But I was well primed. I think I had about 8,000 subscribers, maybe 10-ish, when I posted my harsh writing advice video. So that was a year and change into my channel, maybe a year and a quarter into having my channel. And that's the one that blew me up. And then I followed it almost immediately. I posted that in September. I think it was late September. And then I posted my bad fanfic writing habits video in December, and the algorithm liked that too. And so it actually became the momentum of 2 videos doing well simultaneously that I think kind of fed me into the algorithm machine. But then I didn't have a video the algorithm particularly loved for a while until that dead genres video, and I wasn't expecting it to be the one. So like, some things you can plan. I kind of knew that my harsh writing advice video might land really, really well, but I wasn't expecting it to do that, but it did. And then bad fanfic writing advice, same thing. I thought it would do okay, but then actually you should always take lessons from your videos that do well. When that one landed, I was like, oh, the fanfic fams out here, both people who want to hate on it, but also people who love it, are watching this video. I have to talk more about fanfic because I like fanfic. So I've done a few videos, but don't beat a dead horse. That's actually a really good tip. Don't make too many videos trying to copy your earlier success because that's how you stagnate. And if you fail to keep your content reasonably fresh, or at least take new spins on the things that your audience likes, that your algorithm likes, while still enjoying things, because you also see sometimes channels get so locked into what the algorithm likes that they lose all joy for the platform, and then what's the point? So sometimes you do just have to sit back and go, like, I don't care if I grow. I just want to make video content I enjoy. So you don't worry about the algorithm killers, because who cares? And it can be ebb and flow. You don't always have to be on. You don't always have to be like gaming. But I will acknowledge that it's very frustrating when you're doing a ton of work for your channel. And even, you can have 200 subscribers or 200,000 subscribers and be doing the same amount of work. And you don't always get the subs and engagement, etc., even though you're working really hard and your content is really good. Ultimately, the best you can do is not give up, because when a channel, this is the thing about consistency. It's not good to post 20 videos over 3 months and then disappear for 8 months. YouTube hates that. That's actually how you kill your channel. It would be better to take those 20 videos and spread them over 8 months for consistency, if that makes sense. So meaning, like, you have to be careful with burnout, because that'll kill your channel too. I think I just jumped into a non sequitur, but here. Would it be a bad idea to mix authortube with booktube? Wouldn't it bring in more subscribers to review books as well as authortube books? So I've largely found this just isn't the case. But that said, do it if you want to. I do it because I enjoy it, and no regrets. Do what you enjoy. But the thing is, there's some overlap in booktubers, people who enjoy watching booktube, who also like writing content, but it's smaller than you think, if that makes sense. I have 84,000 subscribers, and I'm lucky if one of my reading wrap-ups gets 3,500 views. That's not bad, but I can get 10K views on a writing video. But not always. Some of my niche videos, like, I'm happy if I get 2,000 views on something that I know is niche. So you always have to also be nice to yourself and kind to yourself. Not every video can get 1 million views. I think I've said it 1 million times, but enjoy the content you make, because that one makes it better when it maybe doesn't perform the way that you want. You shouldn't attach your value to your sub count, your growth, your views, etc. I know it's hard. And I don't think I said it enough. Engage goes both ways. engagement is watching the video. Engagement is liking the video. That's why we're annoying. And we always say, like this video. Engagement is commenting on the video, negative or positive. So actually thumbs up and thumbs down help the video, but commenting as well. But it's best if comments don't sit in a vacuum. Engage with people who comment on your videos. You don't have to answer every single one, but like be a real person with your community. I always think that's better. And it's also better for engagement and growth and community. So let's see. How do you deal with negative feedback on videos? Shouting? No, I'm kidding. It hurts a lot the first time. And I still get some pretty vicious comments. And you get used to them. And you just have to let them roll off your back at a certain point. It's also really funny because some people know that creators read their comments or can read their comments, and some people don't know. I think the most hilarious ones are when someone says something sassy about me in third person, like this lady, and I respond. I actually really enjoy that. But that said, when something's really vicious, I don't respond to it. You have to just let it go, vent to your friends and let it go. But sometimes I'm a little playful and I actually respond to people. That's just my line in the sand. Not everyone can do that. Sometimes I do, but also sometimes I do it because I genuinely feel bad. If someone like has had a really strong reaction, I'm genuinely sorry that was your impression. If it helps, I have this video that's got this in it. Sometimes you can disarm them, but not when they're just straight up vicious. And negative feedback on videos, that's just thinking more like trolls, right? Or people who just don't, maybe aren't your core audience. But sometimes you'll also get negative feedback on videos where it's just not for everyone. And you have to know that your content isn't for everyone. Maybe your personality isn't for everyone, your approach, etc. And just kind of, yeah, be as zen as you can about it. Yeah. And sometimes you'll be wrong. Sometimes I've answered comments and I shouldn't have. Or let things bother me that shouldn't have. But I'm pretty used to insults about my physical appearance by this point, and I'll just say something sassy back. Yeah, actually, the one that got me the most was the person who said that because of my Goodreads ratings, I'm clearly not a very good author, and I just wanted to scream at them and be like, because people don't like me on YouTube, they auto 1-star my books. Please, it already bothers me. Please leave me alone. That's actually a thing that will happen. That's just a negative effect of social media, period. If you're out on social media, some people will negative star your books just as a statement on Goodreads. That's always really fun. Let's see. Any more questions? Oh, this is good. Does posting time matter? Also, premiere versus not. YouTube claims this doesn't impact long-term views, but I'm not convinced. I agree completely with you. I had such a bad experience with premieres the first time I tried it, or I might have tried it twice, but I definitely tried it once. And my engagement on that video was so poor that I haven't done it since. And it was, I don't remember what video it was, but whatever video it was, I'd saved one that I thought people would want to watch with me chatting, and it didn't work. Not a lot of people watched it, and it got far fewer views than I felt it would have otherwise. And so I have been superstitious and haven't used the premiere function yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. Timing, yes and no. I think that if you post in a dead zone, it can really impact your early engagement. YouTube does pay attention to the first 34 hours of your video. That said, I try not to stress too much about timing. I used to, before the pandemic, I used to schedule my videos to post while I was still asleep to try to get the early morning East Coaster people, because I am Pacific time, which I feel hurt sometimes. But I've cared less since I've been home all the time. I'll often check my videos in the morning and post them once I'm awake. And I haven't seen a monumental difference between 7 a.m. PT and 9:30 a.m. PT. But I personally, if it gets too late in PT time, I don't post. The closer you are to the evening, I feel it's not quite as good for certain kinds of posts. I think streams are always great in the evening. and certain kinds of videos. But that's just also, I've like looked up what other people think, and you can YouTube has a stat in your studio. It didn't always have it, but it does now. You can actually see the time of the day that most of your subscribers watch your videos. Now, chicken and egg, do they watch it because that's when you post? Or but I found the sweet spot is like lunchtime for East Coasters, morning for PT people, and then everyone can watch it throughout the day. Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. I think sharing passages from your whips are a good idea. This is entirely personal opinion. I generally am not someone who shares my writing at all until it's published. I get very nervous about it. And also, especially with stuff that's being published, some publishers get mad and some don't. But especially when you're really far out from it, I'm always paranoid that, well, A, that people would see raw material, but B, I tend toward not sharing my concepts or ideas publicly. I'm not overly paranoid that people are going to steal from me, and I discourage people from being paranoid about that. Like some people don't want to have CPs because of stealing, and that's really not a problem. But like, for example, I've never tweeted my high concepts, like shared any of that on social media until I was either had a book deal or was secure that I could sell it. Because what can happen now, this isn't going to happen on authortube, like booktube, but I've thought it, like Twitter pitch contests, for example, I've seen people steal comps. There can definitely be a case where a tweet blows up and an IP packager nicks the concept. So I've always erred on the side of not sharing my stuff. That is my personal opinion. Also, TradPubbed, I feel like in self-publishing with a much faster speed of publication, you can get stuff out there. It might not matter as much because you share something, but then you're going to publish that book in 3 or 4 months and it's yours. So just a thought. Personal opinion though. This is a really good point. As a viewer, less likely to watch videos that are scheduled to premiere. When you see a new video in your feed and you're interested, you want to watch right away. I feel the same way. I will forget about things that are scheduled. They get pushed down in your sub box. They pop up again when they premiere, but I miss them. And there's nothing more annoying. I've had this happen a few times where you realize you missed the first 10 minutes of the premiere, and then what's the point? You might as well wait. So that's a really good point. I'm sure we're not the only ones who feel that way. So. Here, this is a good posting around noon EST. And yeah, that vibes with I post between 9 and 10 PST, so that fits mostly because of when I wake up because I sleep a lot. It's a good sweet spot because you can get the East Coast people while they're eating their lunch, wasting time on YouTube, and those of us drinking our coffee, wasting our time on YouTube. Lizelle says the same, yeah, which explains why I'll watch a lot of your videos first thing in the morning because you guys are posting during lunch. So, does geography affect your views? Yes, only in the sense that if YouTube's boosting your video when you first posted it and some regions are asleep, they're probably just not going to see them being pushed. It affects your views on live streams for sure. Time zones throw a huge wrench in the works. I always feel terrible because the times that tend to be most convenient for me are really inconvenient for other parts of the world, which always really sucks. British, but most of the subs are American. It must be so lovely for you. You wake up and you have all these videos that the Americans posted while you were sleeping. It must be nice. Right. So I think we can wrap up. Are there any final questions? Oh yeah, because I'll blather this on while you wait for a few more questions if you have any final questions. The algorithm's weird. There are tips that you can follow. I offered some. I also strongly encourage you to look up. YouTube has so many really good videos. So every once in a while, I'll watch one to make sure I'm up on the trends, and I'll always be like, I'm doing that. Good. Watch those videos. They really do help because things do shift and change on YouTube. There's great meta content on YouTube, but sometimes it's just unfair. The algorithm is mysterious. Know that behind the scenes, we all complain about it. And that's the thing. I mentioned it's a champagne problem, but it's still frustrating no matter what your channel size is, when like you put a lot of work into something and you thought you had it figured out and then it doesn't work. I post videos I've been convinced everyone would love and they do really well, and I was looking forward to the engagement, and then no one watched them. And then of course the ongoing depression of like, you post a video about something you love, something positive, and it has half as many views as the negative take. You can sometimes have a direct comparison. I did things I love in books versus things I hate in books. Guess which one has twice as much views? Maybe it was my incendiary thumbnail, but I think it's because of human tendencies. And actually, my tip there: be very careful with negativity / sassiness / saltiness. We all love a little bit of it, but once you go fully negative or drama channel or what have you, you really can't go back. And I advise a light touch on that kind of content. And again, making sure it actually is something you want to make and it fits your personality. Trend chasing, click chasing, and algorithm gaming. I like to think that viewers can tell when that's not genuine, and even if it pays off in the short term, I feel like it doesn't help you in the long term. Because what's the point in getting a bunch of subs if they don't regularly watch your content? So that's how I feel. How do you coordinate YouTube with your other social media to maximize content and still make time for life? I am very terrible at this. Some people are really good at it. Like there are people who are smarter than me who will, like, for example, take their clips and make short little looping video clips of it, and they'll like put that on YouTube and Instagram. They are smarter than me, and if you can do that, go ahead. Promoting stories. Honestly, especially since isolation, I don't even use Instagram because I can't go anywhere, and I don't really want to look at pretty pictures as much anymore, which is funny. I know some people are the opposite. Twitter, I've just found that the engagement level is low. I wouldn't stress about cross-promoting YouTube too much on Twitter. In the early days, I did do that, and I had a decent number of Twitter followers. I probably had like 4,000 or 5,000 Twitter followers, and I just never found it boosted my views that much, and it didn't grow my subs that much. So I generally don't bother. Sometimes I think people who have found me on Twitter more recently, who maybe have never been here, every once in a blue moon I'll post a video. I imagine they must be shocked. They're like, you have a YouTube channel? Because I just don't, those two things don't mix for me. But I know it's different for other people. So find YouTubers and authortubers who do it better than me and do what they do. That's my advice. I find it exhausting to keep up with too much social media and still write and still self-care and all that fun stuff. Do I have tips for posting consistency? Yeah, I covered this a bit at the top, but I can talk about this till the cows come home. Batch filming is my biggest tip. Find time when you have 2 to 3 hours of time. That's to get yourself ready. I happen to do full makeup because I enjoy it. Set up your equipment. While you have good light, that's very important. Even though I use an external light, which everyone should, sunlight affects how my filming setup works. If you ever see something that has poor lighting, it's probably because I didn't film at the right time of day and I was in a crunch. So some of my videos, the lighting's not quite as good as others. So actually the video I just posted this week, I'm not in love with the lighting because I had to fit that into a weird day at a weird time. And then the next one I filmed, which is going up soon, the lighting's so much better and it's just different times a day. But batch film, edit them, and kind of get ahead before you start posting, or take 1 or 2 weekends to really like film a ton of stuff and start getting to the point where you always have 3 to 4 videos in the can that sit on your hard drive that you could post at a moment's notice if you need to. This actually comes up another good tip. Sometimes you can't pivot from your content. You filmed your video and it's all you have and you're gonna post it on Wednesday. So even if you go into your sub feed and you realize, oh shoot, someone just posted that, or they posted it on Monday and you were gonna post on Wednesday and you don't want them to think you copied them, but sometimes you're stuck, it's all you have. Post the video you made. There's hive mind. You will unintentionally make the same videos as other people sometimes. But what's also nice when you do have a slight backlog, you feel less stressed because you never feel like you've run out of content. But you can go, ooh, I feel like the mood on YouTube today isn't good for this kind of video, so I'm going to switch to posting this video. And that's one way that I keep the consistency up. I always, well, since I've been home all the time, I don't have to have 6 videos ready to go at any given time because I can film on the fly now more than I could before. But when I worked full time, I always had like 6 videos edited and sitting on my hard drive, and so I could post them at any time. But also, in fairness, because I post 3 times a week, 6 videos is only 2 weeks of content, so I'm only for 2 to 3 weeks ahead. But it still really helps. So. Can't film during daylight. Yeah, I struggled with that. So, oh, sorry, wrong one. This thing. There we go. No offense, the other one. Thank you for your things. Can't film during the daylight. Yeah, that was a struggle for me at first. I tested filming at night and I hated the lighting so much. The shadows on my face were brutal. It's actually the only video I've ever posted where I'm not wearing my glasses because I couldn't eliminate the glare on my glasses because of the light in my apartment. And it was so miserable that I'd rather forego posting so that I can film during the day. But I know not everyone can film during the day. So in that case, you have to buy more lights, I think. I was only using 1 light. Maybe if I had a full kit, it would have been okay. Because obviously Hollywood does it all the time. But I like the combination of a kit and sunlight because I feel like it gives a softer look and it's closer to natural. I've sometimes someone said negative comments on video. I've gotten some pushback that my lighting, I'm trying to look like pale and younger. I'm just pale and my skin reflects the light, and so sometimes it does get ridiculous. It's not intentional. I try to light myself well, and it's a learning curve. You'll get better. I think I've gotten better. Well, this is my webcam. This is pretty natural light. It looks like this. So yeah. Yeah. Here. Oh, this is a good question. And then we'll wrap up. It's 5:25. Let's wrap up by 5:30. So last call for questions. Do I keep all my videos? Storage of videos is ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I have multiple external hard drives, mostly because I'm super paranoid about losing something, which is dumb. I don't need raw footage from 2017, but do I have every single bit of raw footage from the last 3.5 years? Yes, I do. And so I just buy terabyte external hard drives and I load it on there. And I keep it on my hard drive. Like I keep 30 to 40 gig on my hard drive at any given time, and then I move it over every couple of weeks. It's ridiculous. That's the cost of filming in HD, unfortunately. At some point I'll probably get rid of the older videos, but I'm weird about getting rid of things, and that's me. That's part of my anxiety and my personality. So yeah, it sucks. External hard drives, I get them on sale during Black Friday, for example. Really helps. And actually, what was good about that, I'll just say, my computer crashed last year. My fault. I talked about this in the video. I spilled Diet Coke on my computer, like literally my fault. But thank God I back up all my videos. I did it. It also happened my hard drive was salvageable. But in a worst case scenario, I would have barely lost any content because I back everything up on external hard drives, which that was nice. So, oh, this is a good one. How long does it take to edit? It depends. Okay, so this is another thing that comes with time and practice. You're going to be awkward AF when you start. Some people read off scripts. I don't like reading off scripts. I find that I'm way too stilted when I read off scripts. I'd rather speak extemporaneously and go long and ramble, and some people don't like this, and that's cool. But I do follow outlines, like I know what I'm talking about. I'd rather have good off-the-cuff speaking, and then I just edit out fumbles, like mess-ups, and I edit out pauses. But I usually don't brutally trim what I'm saying because sometimes I'm a little repetitive and I try to cut it. But I try to structure my outlines and film so that I don't have to cut a ton. So if I have 40 minutes of footage, I can usually get that down to 28 to 32 minutes, and it takes me a little over an hour. I've gotten pretty efficient at it, but also remember, editing's not my strong suit in the sense that I do nothing fancy. I don't do effects. My videos could look way better, probably, but I do very basic editing. Also, because I do direct to camera addresses, I don't usually move. If I'm lucky, the light doesn't change, and so they're pretty easy to cut together because it's all linear. The ones that take longer are my reading wrap-ups or any of the listicles where I have on-screen text, as you know, kind of like basic as it is, because I have to add all of those elements to the video. That might up the time on an hour of footage to an hour and a half to 2 hours of editing, and then those take much longer to render. And then the worst thing is when you watch back the footage and there's any kind of error and you have to fix it and render all the footage again and watch it again. Those are the hardest. That's when I yell at myself for being so long-winded. But so I know some people, it takes them a lot longer to edit, and I find they usually do much cooler things with their editing, and they are better at it than I am. But it's also practice. It took me a while. When I was awkward at first, I cut way more because there were more ums, there were more mess ups. So get into a groove. Oh, and actually, this is a good question that's going to dovetail into that last one. Vlog style of documenting the process of your writing. Do you think that would be something people would be interested in watching? People love vlogs on authortube. I am bad at them. And this ties into the editing question because they take way more editing and I don't have the patience for it. And this comes back to I've been telling you, do the things you like to do. Don't force yourself to make content, because do the things you enjoy. I don't enjoy editing reading blogs, and I know people like them. And for almost a year, I made myself edit them, film them, and edit them for y'all. And in quarantine, I just couldn't do it anymore. I actually threw out an entire video. Like, I had all the footage and I started editing it, and I was like, this video is just me not going anywhere, being sad about a reading slump, and I'm hating the editing process. And I haven't filmed or vlogged since, because vlogs take more time, because it's just so much footage. A lot of it's a lot more choppy. You have to put it together seamlessly. You got to find music cues to go over it. That's when editing's going to take you 2-3 hours, and I'm not about that life. But the answer is people love vlog content, and if you enjoy filming it and editing it, you should do it. I like watching writing vlogs, and I wish I were better at it. And I've actually asked some of my friends to teach me their ways because I want to be better at it. Which brings me to part of the reason I don't think I'm better at it is my editing software. So I have a PC, and you can pry it from my cold dead hands. I spent a lot of money on it. It's one of my splurges when I got my book deal. I bought a gaming system for The Sims and everything. It's amazing. But also because my old laptop could not handle all the YouTube videos. It was so sad all the time, and it got slower and slower and slower. So the fast processing for gaming is also very good for YouTube. And so I don't have a Mac, and Mac has the best software. The one that comes with Mac, iMovie, is very good, and it comes with Mac. And then they also get what's the one that it's not Premiere, it's the one that you this editing software you can only buy for Mac and you can't buy for PC. That's not Adobe Premiere. That one, I covet it because all the really good YouTubers use that software and they get all the cool transitions and effects. And actually, Lainey is encouraging me to check out Magic's Pro because I like her style of editing, and I feel like she does stuff I wish I could do. So even though like it hurts my soul because I spent like $60-$70 on Pinnacle Studio is what I use, it's perfectly serviceable for PC. It's by Corel, but the effects are like straight up early 2000s. It might even be late 90s. It's like the cheesy effects were put on home videos in 1999. It's not sophisticated looking. It doesn't do, like, I'm negging on this product, but it does the basics. I can chop things up and put in basic transitions and it's fine. But all the on-screen text and all that kind of stuff, it's just not cute. It's not very modern. And so I might check out Magic's to see if I like it better, but my kingdom for Mac software, but then I have to buy Mac. And I'm just very, very cheap. Final Cut, thank you. It's Final Cut. And I really wish I could use it because it looks great, but I'm not going to buy a Mac. We could do a whole live stream on my feelings about Apple. Yeah. I have a Google phone. Like I don't even like iPhones. So, today I learned a lot. Yeah, I really love PC strategy games, but only single player. First person shooters freak me out. I'm never going to play on a headset with other people because I get very aggro. First person shooters upset me. I gave up on Fallout 4 because I couldn't handle the adrenaline of trying to kill the radiated people. But I play a lot of Sims 4. I play Cities Skylines, which is the new and better SimCity after SimCity borked itself. They ruined their own series. I play Planet Zoo is a recent one I've been playing. And actually, just last week, I started playing Anno 1800, and I'm low-key obsessed. I keep going to bed way too late because I'm building my empire. I love city builders, strategy, play, and like every once in a while I just like Jones for like, I want to build a city, but I'm tired of the ones I own, and so I buy more. And I do really like my computer for that. I have like a wireless mouse that's supposed to be better for gaming, and but yes, Sims. I have complicated feelings about the Sims, and like actually we were talking about content. If only I could make more Sims content. I made one video and it did okay, but I'm not a Sims channel and YouTube knows that, so they didn't boost it. And the irony is when I made that video, all the Sims channels I followed hadn't made a video similar to that, and now they all have. So I hope they saw my video, they probably didn't watch it, and went, I should make a video on that because it's good content and I love Sims channels. So I don't play Animal Crossing. I know we're getting off topic. I'm sorry. I said I would end, but I talk too much. Because I don't want to have to buy a Nintendo Switch. I haven't had a console game since the Wii. And I loved my Wii, but when I moved to California, I never played it. I used to play it with my roommates. It was like I was the cool roommate, and we'd have Mario Kart parties, and it was amazing. But since I moved and I live alone, I haven't done console gaming. In fairness, it's also because I had no money, and I feel like I could theoretically now. It sounds like a brag. It's just because I have 3 jobs. I mean, this workshop is about growing your channel, but sometime we'll do a live stream, and I'll tell you all about monetization. It's weird. And that is one thing I will say. So if you put in a lot of work and you get to monetization and you play the game and the algorithm likes you and you are able to grow, it's easier said than done. What is nice is you do start getting paid for that hard work because of monetization, and it is nice. Which is actually why I don't do sponsorships or any of that stuff. I don't need to. I feel like I'm monetized and I get some ad revenue, and that feels like a fair exchange for my work, so to speak. But that's also why I don't turn on super chat. I don't want people to feel they need to give me their money. It's a whole other thing. Can I be on a stream when you talk about why you don't like Apple? It's just, I think that the earliest systems we adopt to make a huge difference. And I just always was on PCs, even as a kid. So I've just never really been Mac native. Yeah, the design software is so good for Macs. It makes me mad. Adobe for PC just is not as good. Womp womp. Oh, I also hate Adobe and their subscription service. I miss when they used to actually be able to get the software. The major Sims channels are filled with negativity. Yeah, but I'm a horrible person. I love a good hot take. Like the ones complaining about the Star Wars pack have given me life. I know that's horrible because I give 0 Fs about a Star Wars pack. I'm not going to buy it. I didn't buy Strangerville either. I have so many feelings, and if mods didn't exist, I would hate The Sims. I need the mods, and that was never the case with Sims 3. I have so many feelings. I actually tried to play The Sims 3 again recently, and as much as I remembered what I loved about it, God, the graphics on 4 are so good. Can't go back. Who would you like to be sponsored by? That's the big question. I used to have someone I wanted to be sponsored by ages ago, and then they actually reached out to me, and I forgot to answer them because I got very, very busy, so I'm the worst. Yeah, not Shadow Raids Legends. Like that's what they do a ton on YouTube. I honestly just, my thing is like, I'm so weird about sponsorships because I would only ever want to work with a product that I believe that y'all actually would like. And that's sponsorships. I have received product for review, and I think that's okay as long as money doesn't exchange hands and I am allowed to be honest. And I've only done that a few times. So That's just a personal thing. Now we're talking about monetization. I swear I'm going to let you go. Mari and Sam are going to be like, what are you even doing? This is the problem with streaming. They just like turn into like casual chats, and I guess that's the point. Ooh, I haven't tried that mod, but I will check it out because I'm already using so many like the community fixes the game. Why can't they put them into the game? Like, why do I have to use a mod that encourages my Sims to do their homework at their desk? How is that not built into the game? Why do I need a mod so they eat faster and they still don't eat fast enough? And why does it take them 2 game hours to cook a simple meal? I have so many questions. I have so many questions. Ugh. Okay. Let's do another general stream soon because there are some interesting things to talk about. But I should wrap this up because I've spoken as much as I can on this topic. But that said, if you're still with us, additional questions, drop them down below in the comments. I will pin a comment with some resources. I mentioned something, and I'll throw in some links to some general videos that like I've seen on YouTube that I think are worth watching. Yeah, thank you for joining me. We had a really good chat. In short, YouTube's weird. Do it because you love it. Try to game the algorithm, but it might betray you. That's kind of the gist of it. Because YouTube, yeah, algorithm's kind of evil. It's great. We love it. We love the algorithm. If they're listening to me right now, we love you, YouTube. So, everyone have a really good night. Best of luck. I love talking about meta YouTube stuff. If y'all are interested, I could turn this into a more well-organized and compact video. But I'll leave some space before I post it so there's not too much overlap. But yeah, because I do enjoy talking about this stuff and helping people. And I will arrange another live stream first, even though it hurts the algorithm, so that we can chat. So everyone have a really good night. Drop any of those questions or comments down below, and I'll answer what I can. So thank you for joining us. BookNetFest has a ton of other events. Go on their website, follow them on Twitter. We're coming up on the end of the month, and they've already had some good events. You can catch up on them and watch more. And when they can be in person again, please come to BookNetFest. I love it. I've made so many friends there. It's a really good time. So it's for everyone who loves books and loves our community. So bye, guys.